Hello everyone. Today I'm going to discuss the question 25 in database management systems, and let's go to our question list. Here you can see under day 11, here's the question 25. Now I'm going to read the question, and after that let's answer for these questions one by one. Find the average obtained in the first term mathematics subject. Okay, that's the first part of the question. But if you didn't watch my previous videos, you have no idea what's going here. Actually, we are continuing a question. We started from question 17. So if you didn't watch those videos, we are answering for the questions. These questions are based on a database we created in question 18. So if you didn't watch those videos, you have to watch them first before understanding this one. Okay, let's go to our first part of the question. Find the average obtained in the first term mathematics subject. Okay, here let me go to the SQL browser. Okay, here we are in the SQL browser. We are using this software to view the data inside our MySQL server graphically. Okay, and here's the database we created earlier, eShop. Sorry, not that one. Exam mark DB. Okay, this is the database, and these are the tables inside the database. You can see there are data we stored in this database. We use this database to store a bunch of marks recorded in a school, and the details of the student, and the details related to that exams held in that school. Okay, now we have to find the let's go to our query tab, and here you can see this is the old query. We are going to write a new query. We have to find the average obtained in the first term mathematics subject. Okay, first we have to select all the results recorded related to the marks. You know, if you watch my previous videos, we are storing these marks in student exam mark record table. Let me show you here. Here is the table. Let's select, or let's get all the details inside that student exam mark record as the result. So you know what we have to do. We have to write a select query. So here's the first one, select keyword, and I need all the details for now, so I'm using the asterisk marks and asterisk from. Here's the database name, exam mark DB, and here's the table. Okay, this is our query to get all the details. When I execute this query, it will show all the details inside that table. Okay, let's execute this one. Here's the execute SQL function. Okay, here you can see in the result, these are all the data. Now we have to filter this data using our conditions to find the specific answer. So using this query, I'm modifying it to find only the first term test marks. So you know what we have to do. You can see we mentioned the term in this exam term ID attribute. You can see number 1, number 2. There are two exams, and let me show you. We stored the details of those exams in exam term table. Here's the exam term table, and ID number 1 is first term test, and here's the date, and ID number 2 is second term test, and here's the date. Okay, those are the details showing in this particular table. So now we have to use that ID. You can see only the ID is stored in the mark table, so we have to find the ID of the first term test. In order to do that, I'm going to use the subquery method to answer this question. So here's my condition. We have to first we have to mention the attribute in the main table. So that's the attribute we are going to use to filter this data. So here's the attribute in student exam mark record table. and here's the exam term ID. Let me put this attribute name inside to gray question marks. If you watch my previous videos, where the gray question mark is, and here in we can use equal because we are not going to find many answers. We are going to find only one answer. We need only the ID. There's a single result which contains the ID of the first term test. So you can use equal, and here's the brackets. I'm going to write my subquery, and after this subquery, the query inside this these two brackets will execute it. It will output the ID of the first term test. So I'm writing the a query to return the details of the ID recorded in the exam term table, because I can filter the data, these two records, using the term name, because that's the name the question gave to us. It only mentioned the name first term. Okay, now we have to filter this data using the name. Okay, here I need only the ID to return. So here I am mentioning the ID. It's better you mention the database name. Here's the the table name. Here's the table name, exam term, and here's the attribute term ID. I need that I need only the data inside that attribute. So here I'm mentioning the database exam mark DB, and here's the database table exam term exam mark DB, and here's the table exam term, and here's the condition. I'm using the attribute name, the exam the term name to find the to filter the details. So here is the table we don't need to mention the table everywhere. I just used to get the suggestion. So here exam term name, and let's put this attribute name inside to gray question marks, and equal to, here it should be equal to first term. Okay, here's the query, main query and the subquery. Let's execute this one. You can see only the term ID number 1 is included in the result. Okay, so the number 2 terminated from the result set, and now I'm going to write and here's the second condition. We managed to find only the first term test marks, and it's not enough. We have to find only the marks related to the mathematics subject. So using these two queries, I'm going to write another subquery to find the ID of the, here you can see the subject ID is mentioned here. So we can use that ID to filter the data, and here you can see in the subject table, that's the table we use to store the subject details, which are the subject name and the subject ID. So here you can see, here's the mathematics subject and the ID is number 1. So we can write another select query to output the subject ID, and we can filter these 3 records using the subject name. Now let's write our next condition. Before, we have to write the we have to mention the attribute name in the main table. We are going to filter. So here's the attribute name. Student exam mark record table and subject ID. I'm going to erase this one. I use that table name to get only the suggestion, the subject ID name. So subject ID, it should be equal to here we can use again the equal mark instead of the keyword in, because there will be no there will be only one result or one record. So we can use the equal mark, and it should be equal to the data outputted from the select this subquery select. I do not need all the details. I need only the subject ID. So let's go to the table. Sorry, in the subject table, and here's the subject table, and here's the subject ID. It should be subject ID. Okay. Okay, and here I'm mentioning the database and the table. We are going to where these details are stored. So exam mark DB, and here's the table subject, and here's the condition. When filtering the details inside that subject table, I'm filtering the details using the subject name. So subject name should be equal to mathematics. Okay, mathematics, and we can execute this one. Sorry, you can see there's an error, and here's the error near from subject name equal mathematics. You can see we gave the condition, but we use the keyword from. From is not the keyword we should use. It should be where. Okay, here's the keyword, and let's execute this one. You can see only the details which are in the first term test and the subject mathematics are selected in this table or the result. Now we can change the asterisk marks to find only the average mark of within these details, not of within this detail. So there's a keyword called AVG to find the average. This one AVG, and like the count and the min max keywords, we have to give a attribute name to filter these data. So here's the table, student exam mark record table, and here's the attribute mark. Okay, now we can execute this one. Here you can see the average mark recorded in the first term test mathematics subjects is 71.845. Okay, we can change the attribute name. You can see the attribute name, it's not very suitable, so we can change this attribute name to something like this: average marks in mathematics subject. Like that, we can execute this one. You can see the attribute of the result changed to average attribute name in the result changed to average marks in mathematics subject. Okay, here's the complete answer. Let me show you the whole query. Here's the whole query we used to get this answer, and we completed the first part of the question, and let's move on to the second part. Find the average obtained in the second term Sinhala subject. Now we have to change the details. We have to find the second term Sinhala subject. Okay, for that, let's go to our SQL browser and let me clear this old query. Let's write a new one. I'm going to use the join query method. We use the subquery method for the previous one, and here's the uh, join query method. I'm going to join three tables together. You can see our marks are stored in student exam mark record table, and our term is we have to filter the term, so our term is recorded in the exam term table, and our subject we have to filter the subject. In this case we have to find the Sinhala language and literature, so the subject details are stored in the subject table, so we have to join these three tables together. So for that, let's write our select query. Select, for now I need all the details, so asterisk from. Here I'm mentioning the first table I'm going to join. I'm going to join the student exam mark record table. So here's the database name, exam mark DB, and student exam mark record table, and here's the condition. I'm joining these two tables using inner join. So inner join, we can use the self join method also, but I'm going to use the inner join method. Okay, and here I'm mentioning the second one, exam mark DB, and here's the table I'm going to join, exam term table. Okay, and here we have to mention the condition. We are going to join these tables. Condition means we can also say the connection between these two tables. You can see the ID inside the term ID inside the exam term table is foreign to the exam term ID attribute in student exam mark record table. You can see it foreign from if you watch my previous video, when we are creating this database, we assign and identifying one-to-many relationship. So here is the exam term ID foreign to the student exam mark record table. So we have to mention that condition when we are joining this data or these two tables. So here's the first one, in student exam mark record table dot, here's the attribute subject exam term ID should be equal to the term ID in exam term table. So exam term table, and here's the term ID. Okay, let's execute this one. You can see these these two tables are joined in a corresponding order. And here I am joining the second part, not the second part. Here I am joining the third table to this table list. Here inner join, and here's the table I'm going to join exam in the exam mark DB database, and here I'm joining the subject table, and here's the condition, the subject ID in the student exam mark record table, the subject ID, and it should be equal to the subject ID in the subject table. In the subject table, here's the subject ID. Okay, let's execute this one. Here you can see the subject and the term and the student mark records are returned in the question are shown in the result in a corresponding order. Okay, now we can give our conditions to filter this data. Okay, here's the first condition, where we use the inner join method. So all the three tables which are joined works as a single table. So we don't need to use the subquery method. We don't have to call every separate table. We can use the attribute name of the table directly. So that's why I'm going to use the attribute name. So here's the condition. First one, we have to find only the second term test result. So here's the here the where keyword and exam in the exam term table and term name. We can directly call the or mention the term name inside the exam term table. Term name should be equal to second term. Okay, let's execute this one. Here you can see only the second term details are showing in the result. Now that's how our inner join method works, and here is my second condition. We need to find only the Sinhala language results in the second term test. So we find the second term test marks and let's filter the Sinhala the results belongs to the Sinhala language. Okay, here in the subject table, subject name should be equal to Sinhala language and literature. Let me copy that name, Sinhala language and literature. Okay, here I paste the name and let's execute this one. You can see only the second term test Sinhala language marks are stored or showing in the result. Now we can use the average keyword to find the average within these details. So AVG, and here I am mentioning the data we are going to filter, or the attribute we are going to filter. In the student exam mark record table, we are going to filter the details recorded in the mark attribute. Okay, let's execute this one. Here you can see the average mark of the Sinhala language in the second term test is 87.8875. Okay, now we can change the attribute name if you want. This is an optional method. I'm going to change it to average marks in second term test. Sorry, Sinhala language. It's better we mention only the subject name. It's enough. So average marks in Sinhala language. Okay, let's execute this one. You can see the attribute name changed to average marks in Sinhala language. Okay, here we answer to the second part of the question. Let's move on to the third. Find the average of the marks obtained by Sachitra Wickramasinghe student in all subjects in examination held on 2020-17. Okay, you can see we have to find only the average mark, but this time we have to find we have to filter the details using the name of the student. Let me show you the student exam mark record table, but before that let me show you here is the whole query we wrote to find the details according to the second part of the question. Okay. Let me clear this one and let's write a new one to this part of the question. But before that, let me show you the exam mark record table. You can see the student index numbers are recorded. Okay, using that, here you can see we stored the student details, first name, last name, gender, like that. We stored those details in student table, so that's on a different table. And here you can see this is the record of Sachitra Wickramasinghe, and we have to find the index number using the first name and the last name. Okay, and after that, here you can see there's another part. Here's the exam term, and this time we have to use the exam date to find the term ID, and we can match that ID to the details recorded in the student exam mark record table. First, I'm going to show you. I'm going to use the subquery method. So I'm going to show you all the details recorded in the student exam mark record table. So you know what we have to do. Select for now asterisk from here is the database name exam mark db, and here student exam mark record table. Okay, let's execute this one. And here you can see these are all the data related to every student recorded in this school, but we have to find only only marks of a specific student. But before that, I'm going to find the details related to this examination date. Okay, for that, let's go to our MySQL browser again, and let's write a select query. You can see we can sort the details using the exam term ID in the student exam mark record table. So where student exam mark record table, and here is the exam term ID, and it should be equal to the data outputted from this subquery. Okay, here's the subquery. We can write a select query to the exam term table, and we can sort the details using the exam date. That's what I'm going to do now. So select, I need only the term ID here, term ID, and from exam mark db, and here's the exam term, and we are sorting the details in this exam term table using the exam date. So exam date in the exam term table is the exam date. Let me put this inside two gray question mark, and it should be equal to this one, 2020 7 10. Let me verify that one here. 2027 10. That's the date, and let's execute this query. You can see the exam term ID changed to number 2, and here in the exam term table, the number 2 is the corresponding record to the exam date 2027 10. Now this is we filter the details to the exam date. Now we can filter the details using the student index number. It means we have to find the specific child, Sajitra Vikramasinghe. Okay, we can use the AND keyword, and after that, here's the attribute in the main table, student exam mark record table. Here the student exam mark record table, here's the attribute student index number, and it should be equal to the data outputted from this select query. In this select query, I'm going to write that to the student table to filter the details using the first name and the last name, and outputted the index number. Here select index number. So index number from exam mark db, and here's the table name student, and here's the condition. We have to write two conditions. You can see there are two attributes. We have to filter first name and the last name. So first name, let me put this within two gray question marks. The query will execute if you didn't use the gray question mark, but it's better you use to separate the attribute and the values. Attribute should be stored within two gray question marks, and values should be stored within two single quotes. It's better you use that way. And first name, and it should be equal to Sachitra. Let me copy the name Sachitra, and here's the second one, last name. Last name, and it should be equal to Vikramasinghe. Okay, let me copy that one too here. Okay, here's the complete query. Let's execute this one. Okay, you can see these are the three subjects related to the student Sachitra Vikramasinghe in this exam held on 2020-17. You can see there are only three subjects. That why there are three records in the result: mathematics, science, and Sinhala language. Okay, now we can use these details to find the average mark of this student in all three subjects. So I'm using AVG, and here's the attribute I'm going to filter in student exam mark record table, and here is the mark attribute. Okay, we are find the average recorded in the mark attribute within these details. So let's execute this one. Okay, here's the result. She has 63.09 of average for all three subjects recorded in that exam held on 2020-17. And also we can change the attribute name to something like this: average of Sachitra, like that. Execute this one. Okay, this is the whole query we used to get this answer. You can see we answered for the third part of the question, and let's move on to the last one. Here's the fourth one: arrange the marks obtained by all the students of class 11A in the first term in ascending order. Now we don't have to find the average marks. We have to order or arrange the list of marks according to the ascending order. And here are the conditions. For all the students, we have to find the marks of all the students in class A in the first term test, and the recorded marks should be arranged in ascending order. Okay, let's go to our Heidi SQL browser, and you can see in the question we have to find the details of the student, actually the marks of the student in class 11A and in first term test. So you can see the exam term table is the table which records the details of the terms or the exams. Here you can see first term and second term. And after that, here is the student exam mark record table. This is the table which records the marks of the student. And subject is not relevant or not necessary to find the details, find the answer to this part of the question, but it's better we use this table too. I'm going to use this table too when I'm writing the query. And here is the student table. You can see it showed the we use this table to record the details of the student. And there's another table called class. That's the table which records the details of the class. You can see the class and the exam term is very essential to this answer. So we have to use these two tables too. And there are many tables we have to work with. So I'm going to use the inner join method. So first we can join the tables. First I'm going to join the student table. Select for now asterisk from and here's the first one, exam mark DB, and in the joining the student table. Let's view the result. Here's the student table, and I'm joining the class table using the inner join method. So here's the class table in the exam mark database, and here's the class. Okay, and here's the condition or the connection between these two tables. The class ID in class table should be equal to the class ID in the student table. Here's the class ID. Let's execute this one. You can see the class and the student details are showing in a corresponding order. And here I'm joining another table. You have to use the inner join method, inner join keyword, and here's the next table I'm joining the student exam mark record table, and here's the condition. The index number in the student table should be equal to the index number in the student exam mark record table. Let's execute this one. Okay, you can see the all the details are here according to the connections we define. Okay, and after that I'm joining the essential. There are two essential tables we have to join: the exam term table and the class table. But we join the class table. Now we have to join the exam term table. So here exam mark DB and exam term. You can see I only use the inner part of the keyword. We have to use the keyword join, inner join. This is the complete keyword, inner join, and here's the table exam term, and here's the condition or the connection. The term ID in the student exam mark record table here should be equal to the term ID in the exam term table. That's the connection. Let's execute this one. You can see the details recorded in the exam term table is showing in the result in a corresponding order. Now after that, let's join our subject table. That's the last part, inner join. There's no order to join the tables because you can see in the first part of the query here I use the asterisk marks. We can change this asterisk mark to show the attributes in the result, and we can arrange those attributes. So when we are joining the tables, we can join those tables anyway we want. There's no order. So here I'm joining the subject table, inner join exam mark DB, and here's the subject table, and here's the connection. The subject ID in the student exam mark record table, and it should be equal to the subject ID in the subject table. Execute this one too. Here you can see the subject, the details of the subject are showing in the result in a corresponding order. Okay, now we join all 5 tables together. Now we can define what are the attributes we want to show. Here is the first one. I need the index number of the student. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . So in the student table, in index number, and again the student table first name, student table last name, student table gender, student table contact number, and those are the details we want to show in the result in the class table. You can see there's another attribute in the class in the student table. You can see there's another attribute called class ID in the student table, and it's not necessary, or it's not very important to show this table because we don't use the IDs to find the details of a result because it's not very user friendly. We just need to show the text values in the attribute. So these are the attributes which are storing the details in a text form. So it's enough to show those tables, those attributes only. And you can see we can show the class ID because we connect these table too, and we only need to show the class name. So here class table, we just need to show the class name. That's enough. Okay, and here are the details, but before that let me complete the arrangement of the attributes in the result. So here's the class name, and after that we can show the subject, the term name, and the term date, and also the marks. Okay, let's do that part. Here in the exam, sorry, not this one, the subject table, we just need to show the subject name, the result, and after that here exam, no, it's better we show the marks now. So student exam mark record table, that's the table which storing the marks of the students, and after that we can show the exam term name. So exam term table and term name, and also the term date. Okay, here's the term date, and those are all the details we have to show in our result. Now we can execute this one. You can see only the necessary details are showing in the result: the index number, first name, last name, gender, contact number, class name, and subject name, and the marks, and also the term name and the exam date. Okay, now we can arrange this table. You can see in the question we have to arrange these details in an ascending order. Let's go to our SQL browser again, but here you can see arrange the marks obtained by all the students. You can see only the marks are we have to arrange only the marks of the student, but it's very meaningful if we join if we show all the details or all the records when we are showing the marks of the student. So that's why I joined all the tables and show these details in my result. Okay, let's order this or arrange these details using the order by keyword, order by, and we have to give it a attribute to arrange the order. And here I am arranging the details using the mark, the data recorded in the mark attribute. So in the student exam mark record table, here is the mark attribute, and here is the condition to arrange these details. I need to arrange these details in ascending order. That means the lowest mark to the highest mark. So here ASC means the ascending order, and we completed our query. Let's execute this one. You can see here's the lowest mark recorded in the first term test in all subjects in the student of class 11A and 11B, and here's the highest mark. But you can see in the question we have to find only the details. We have to arrange arrange the details in ascending order, only the details of the students in class 11A. So that means we have to write another condition, and again here in the first term test you can see both the first term and the second term test details are showing. So let me write that. Let me clear this order by method and write our conditions. I forget to write those conditions. So here where we can directly call these attributes, because all the attributes are in the result are working as a all the details in these 5 tables we joined are working as a single table. So we can call the attributes we want. So where we are searching the details, we are filtering the details in the class table. So in the class table, sorry, not this one, the class table, yes, the class table, and the class name should be equal to 11A. Let's execute this one. You can see only the class 11A details are showing here, and now we have to write another condition, and the exam term table, and here is the exam here's the term name, and it should be equal to the first term test. So first term, let's execute this one too. Here you can see only the first term marks are showing here. Here you can see there are there are 4 students in class 11A, and also here are the subjects. There are 3 subjects, and these are the records in the first term test. Now we can arrange these details using the order by keyword, order by, and here's the attribute I'm going to use to order these details in the student exam mark record table, and here's the mark attribute, and here's the method. I want to arrange the details. I need to arrange these records in ascending order. Okay, that's why I use ASC keyword. And let's execute this one. You can see the lowest mark recorded in the result is 23.5, and the highest mark recorded within these details is 100. Okay, and here is the whole query we used to get this answer. This is the last answer to the final part of the question 25, and here we completed the question 5. And I think that's it for this video. Let's see you in the next one. Thank you very much for watching.